I've been doing a lot of line art focused works lately. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing something that might seem a little bit weird to some of you guys. I'm going to paint, but I'm not going to use any lines. I'm going to paint something without sketching first. No guides, nothing, just color. And the reason I want to do this is because years ago, when I had a huge creative block, this is actually something that helped open up a lot of doors for me. Like, the way your mind thinks about things when you're drawing lines is different than when you're thinking about painting or blocking things in, like almost like you're sculpting something as opposed to drawing something. For me, sometimes it was actually easier to sculpt things out of blobs of color than it was to actually draw lines. I think I would get like too caught up in my head or something. So if you ever find yourself in a creative block, give this method a try because it might work for you as well as it worked for me. So the first step is obviously have an idea of what it is that you want to draw. I said the word draw, you know I mean the word paint. So I'll have like a mood board and like maybe a few references to the side, and I'll just like glance at them time and time again. And I think the great thing about this process is that you don't get caught up in that stage where you're kind of intimidated or like psyching yourself out with the drawing part. If this is my table, and this is the stage of trepidation, it's just yeet. You eat that right the FO. So this is the reference image I'm using. It's actually a photograph that I took on a very recent trip to the mountains. I was trying to get a photo of a sunset, but all I got was that little tinge of pink at the top there. But the reason I chose this photo for my photo reference is it has elements of the foreground with the trees, as well as like this nice empty canvas space of the snow on the lake, and of course the sunset. So now that I have my photo reference, I'm going to take a blank canvas and I'm going to fill in kind of like, I'm taking a page from Rembrandt's book. I'm using kind of like a gray neutral under layer level for the painting. And I am going to use a lot of different layers because I'm going to separate my midground from my foreground from my background. But for this, I don't want like a solid bluish slate gray. I kind of want to just like have some gradients so that it looks a little bit more dynamic than one solid color. Next, I'm going to use the lasso tool. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of like defining the base of the mountain where the forest kind of like cuts into the ridges, and it kind of differentiates the foot of the mountain versus like the forest floor or the foot of the mountain from like the rise of the mountain. So that's what this shape here is that I'm cutting out. And I'm just gonna like cut out the tops of the mountains after. So right now I'm putting in a gradient that is gonna define the mountain shape on the horizon. And this is where I start cutting out the shape of the mountain ridge. And I'm just gonna hit delete. I'm using separate layers for all of this because I'm going to be wanting to paint under things. And if I have to worry about what I'm avoiding to paint on top of, then it's just going to take me longer to do, and I don't want to spend a long time working on this. So because this is blocked in with color, I cut into my shapes all the time, and I'll constantly play around with things until something feels good. So obviously when it comes to something like this, there's no direct path really. You just kind of have to feel around and kind of find what fits. And that's just the nature of the beast, really. I just did a clipping mass effect on that. guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Please, if you don't mind, give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed hanging out, and check me out on my socials down below as well. Cheers, nuggimies!